Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Movie Boarding. And happy May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Even though this episode is coming out on May the 1st, this is our Star Wars May the 4th special extravaganza, special episode, special all day, every day. Star Wars, Luke, Leia, Han Solo, the whole gang, the whole shebang gang. And happy May the 4th, McClunky to all my Star Wars nerds. And to celebrate the Star Wars Day, we will be watching and discussing a movie that satires Star Trek. Yes, a movie that has been considered to be one of the best satires of the sci-fi genre. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I just had an idea, so listen up, Southwest. So every time you log in to southwest.com when you're on a flight, you can connect to the in-flight Wi-Fi, the free version of it, and you can watch movies, you can watch TV, or even listen to music. And I don't know if they have podcasts. That'd be a good idea. Now, my idea is, why don't you have my podcast on there? I'll do it for the exposure. You can have my podcast, and then you can either add movies that I've reviewed, or I can watch and review movies that are on the app currently. And also, too, I'm going to have more Co-Hearts on the podcast. And you're going to get a pretty good product, I guess. I don't watch any ultra-violent movies or graphic movies. I don't say anything controversial. I don't say curse words. So, family-friendly, Southwest. Just throwing it out there. Holler at me. I'll do it for the exposure. I'll do it just to get the clicks and the likes. Anyways, with that in mind, remember to like and subscribe, follow, all that stuff. You can find us on the socials. All of them are Kingston Hannibal, and the YouTube channel Kingston Hannibal. Thank you so much for listening to this episode number 20 on the sci-fi comedy classic satire, etc., starring Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, the late great Alan Rickman, Darrell Mitchell, Justin Long, Tony Shalhoub, Sam Rockwell, and even a special appearance by Rainn Wilson. And yes, everybody, this is an episode on the absolute banger, Galaxy Quest, with my fellow Co-Heart Kirsten. Enjoy, and may you live long and prosper. All right, so now we have a limited time.
Okay, cool.
Because I'm a baller and I shelled out $10. Anyways. Thank you for doing this. I usually do an intro, but I've done it so many times it's lost all meaning. So we're just gonna start talking. But thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
I know you were super excited to do this. Yes. And I'm super excited to have you. Now, I did text you some stuff yesterday, but I don't think we're going to do that, only because the movie that we're going to watch has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I got you.
But I think you would have been a good guest for the two movies that I did before that were kind of on that same topic.
Yes.
I did the movie Blank Man, which is like from the 90s. It's about basically a black superhero.
Interesting.
And then the other one I did with my friend, I did the movie Bebe's Kids. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Yes, I've heard it. I've heard of it, and I've seen it so many times. Yes.
Okay. So it's funny because I didn't know it was such a cornerstone for the black community, that movie.
Oh, yes. It's star-studded. It has, I don't know the comedian's name.
Robin Harris.
But, yes. But, yeah, like just a staple.
Yeah.
Bro, like a huge staple in the black community. So,
and for me, I wouldn't say it was a staple for me, but I did watch that movie a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's why I did it, because and if you listen to that podcast, we were talking about that. I saw it as a kid. This was in the 90s, so I was like probably 8 or 9 when I saw it.
Yeah. And
I didn't notice that, like, the social aspect of the movie. I thought it was just like some rambunctious kids that went to the park and like stuff happened, but it was like, no, they weren't any different from any other kid, but it was the fact that they were being treated differently because they were black.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then when that they were what's that term, latchkey kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're basically like they didn't have a parental figures at all. And like when you're 8, you just see like, oh, that kid has poop in his diaper, and it's like, well, that's kind of a problem. Like, no, is it at all? We could talk a little bit about that, even though this movie has really nothing to do with that, and it's kind of like the other way. And I think they might have done that on purpose.
Yeah.
That there's only like 1 or 2 black characters in the movie.
Yes.
Because the movie we're going to watch is Galaxy Quest.
Yes.
And if you saw, I don't know if you did any research or anything like that on it.
Just seldom. I think if we're talking about the same movie, I would be embarrassed if I get this wrong. But it has Alan Rickman in it, right?
Yes, it does.
That's the only like big thing that I know about with that specific movie that he's in it.
That he's
So,
in it, and I know you said you're a big
mhm.
you're a big Potterhead.
Yes, very
Yeah,
much so.
so that's why. Yeah, I know him more than anything because I'm not actually at all into Harry Potter. I know some of the stuff
Oh,
just through osmosis, like um,
yeah,
but
yeah,
him, Alec Rickman, Die Hard is
yes.
the
Oh,
big one.
yes,
Yeah,
the
Alan
big one.
Rickman. Um,
Yes, because that's how he sounds in the movie.
Going back to what we were saying, that it's kind of the opposite of that because a lot of the sci-fi movies, i.e., the big one, Star Wars, was criticized from back in the day that it had like 2 black characters in the entire original trilogy, and one of them was just the voice, which was James Earl
Yes,
Jones. So I
yes,
think that's
playing
why
Darth Vader, of
Galaxy
course.
Quest is doing that in this movie that only has like one black character.
Oh, so it's like a parody,
So yeah, so
kind of,
Galaxy
sort of.
Quest is a parody of like all those sci-fi movies, and specifically not so much Star Wars, but it does have some elements, but specifically of Star Trek,
Star Trek.
which was actually very, according to people, and I think so too. Yeah, it was very progressive,
Oh yeah.
being in that it had an Asian character in there,
Yes.
George Takei.
Hmm.
I had a black character, and then the white character and the black character were like love interests.
Yeah.
And this was like in the 60s.
Yeah, Nichelle Nichols, and I don't know who played Spock. I think it was Spock.
Spock, Leonard Nimoy, and then the Asian character was George Takei.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I know Nichelle, definitely. I have a cousin that was named after Nichelle. So yeah.
What were some of the movies that you saw as a kid that were like, you said a lot of them were like from the black community or like an all black cast or like an all black production? Because I told you that we had this conversation when we saw Baby's
Yeah.
Kids, me and my friend Jem, and only one I could think of was Black Panther, and then the only one she could think of was I think one of the Beyonce films that came out, like All Hail the Queen or something.
Yeah, yeah. So just there are a lot of major influences, regardless if they are parodies or regardless if they are like actual staples. Like my favorite like black movie that's like through and through is Poetic Justice, featuring
Okay.
Tupac and Janet Jackson. That's like
Yeah.
my like surface level, But if we're talking about like funny comedy movies, like all the Friday movies, anything that the Wayans brothers did, like Don't Be a Menace, even like the staples, like such as like Higher Learning, or maybe like now I'm blanking. That's crazy. You had Richard Pryor.
I don't think I've ever heard of Higher Learning.
Higher Learning, that's a staple cast because it has Ice Cube. It has I believe his name is Omar Epps. It has Tyra Banks in it. It's a couple.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's
I had such like legit. You asked my family, one of my first crushes, Tyra Banks.
Oh yeah, of course. She's gorgeous. Down.
Yeah, which is like a duh. Like why would anybody? I'm not breaking ground here. It's like she's gorgeous.
But yeah, when it comes towards just like a lot of like staple black movies, that's the thing. Like when it comes towards even when we're talking about on basis as like producers and directors, like Spike Lee, of course. Shoot, like he kind of was a trailblazer when it came towards just anything regarding black stories in the black community. Wow, why am I blanking?
Do the right thing?
Yes, Do the Right Thing. School Days. They just let me see. Crooklyn. Yeah, there was a lot of things that were going on within his world or within his era, and that's kind of what shaped me, or just shaped my way of thinking. Just being a black girl growing up here in America, and so when it came
in Nashville,
in Nashville, yes, that was like the biggest thing that I looked for when it came towards like references. So like if you're talking about like the run of the mill regular movie that like everybody's seen, or like that blockbuster staple, 9 times out of 10 I probably haven't seen it, or I don't know what you're talking about. But if we're talking about in regards to culture, for the culture, I 100% know what you're talking about.
For the culture, I like that. Yeah. Okay, now that you're saying that, now some are coming to mind. Boys in the Hood,
yes,
was one that I watched as a kid a lot.
Yes.
The Friday movies for sure.
Yeah.
The first two, after the what was it, Friday After Next, I was like, all right, but the first two for sure, especially the second one. It's funny, like with a lot of these classic movies, I think the second one was my introduction to the movie. So like Back to the Future, I think the first one I ever saw was the second one.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think the first Friday movie I ever saw was Next Friday.
Yes.
I think I saw it when I lived in Texas, but we moved later and lived in California and LA for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like a staple too, because it's like, oh, like we didn't live around there, like in Crenshaw or what is it called, Inglewood, but you see it now as an adult and you're like, oh snap, like that was filmed there or that was filmed there. And then the
Yes.
second one was in Rancho Cucamonga. And then it's funny too, I was thinking about this the other day for some reason, but my sister, whenever she eats like a taco or like a burrito, she legit says like, put some hot sauce on my burrito, baby. And she starts singing the song. And that guy, I forget the actor's name, but we saw him a couple times in LA. Yeah, just he
Really?
was like there's this popular restaurant there called, I think there actually is one here
Uh-huh.
called Johnny Rockets.
Yes. Yes.
I think there's one in the was it Gaylord Galleria thing.
Opryland or Opry Mills.
Opryland, that's what it, yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw him a couple times in LA and like at the Johnny Rockets.
That's cool. Oh my gosh. I know who you're talking about. I just like J names keep popping up, but if I say something
Yeah.
wrong, I'm gonna be mad. So
No,
yeah.
Friday. Let's see, Friday. Oh, John Witherspoon.
Yeah,
duh.
John Witherspoon. Yes.
And then I saw a couple of times too Debo.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. But the thing is though, like living in LA, you just literally see people like all the time.
Fair enough. Yeah. I've never really honestly, like as far as like black actors go, like just living here in Nashville, I've never really actually seen them. It's more so, I mean, this is the country music side, so it's like that's all I see. But that's pretty cool.
So we're gonna watch a sci-fi movie.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch any sci-fi when you were a kid? Is there ones that like stick out? Or was it just like for the culture movies?
See, I don't even think maybe you could consider it, but then like I also watched like maybe like 2 Star Wars movies here and there. And I think we've had
Okay.
this conversation before.
Yeah.
But like okay, I don't know if like Alien versus Predator counts, but like that's probably like the most of what I've seen.
Alien versus Predators.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sci-fi. That's sci-fi.
Yeah. And like if we're talking about anything like deeply like science in general, I
Yeah.
never really did. I was more of I guess it was more of like a comedy romance kid. So yeah, as far as that, and then like my best friend, she's interesting like that when it comes towards just being the total opposite of me. So she introduced me to two movies a lot. So I've seen Rogue One,
Mm-hmm.
and there was I don't remember which Star Wars movie it was, but I did sit down and watch it with my uncle in my family. He's a big Star Wars fan, but it was one of those newer ones where it had what's his face, Adam Driver.
Okay, yeah. So that was because he's the new trilogies, which is 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was either like okay, as far as like those were the episodes 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, the newer ones, the ones that came out like
Okay,
in the 2010s.
okay, so that one it had to be like episode 7 or episode 8 that I did see, and I really enjoyed that. I thought I was missing out, and then I had like a little spiel where I was trying to watch everything in order, but I was like, do I do it chronologically or do I do it by release date? So like
Yeah.
I tried it, and I was just like, I can't.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. And it's one of those things where like I want people to watch them, but I can't force it on them because I do really think they are genuinely amazing films and everybody should watch them, but like it's not for everybody. It
Yeah.
really isn't. And I think what kind of turns people off is a little bit of the fandom of it, that they're like,
Really?
yeah, they're like, in the extended universe kind of thing, which is going to be a lot of that in this movie. So this movie, like it said, Galaxy Quest, it stars Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, I forgot. Wow.
So
Okay.
Aliens, she's a big
Uh-huh.
sci-fi person. Like, and then Tim Allen, I wouldn't say so much as sci-fi, but for sure because of the Toy Story movies, that he's become part of some sort of fandom, especially like a Disney fandom.
Yes.
And then Alan Rickman being in the Die Hard movies and then the Harry Potter movies and just being the actor, and his voice is very iconic. But
Yes.
they do kind of talk about that fandom of like people, especially with like the Star Wars and Star Trek, of how these people are just like insane for it. But at the same time, you kind of, and you'll see it a little bit, that it's like, well, yeah, these people are obsessed, but a lot of these actors owe their career to those people that are
Yes.
completely obsessed. So it's like, you kind of have to have a balance, like of love-hate relationship with them.
For sure, for sure. I think actors tend to forget, especially like, okay, if you were beloved by a certain thing that you did, honestly, like your name is going to be tied to that for the rest of your life. You have to
Yeah.
like dedicate that to your career. It's what happened, you know?
Yeah, and poor Alan Rickman, he has like 2 franchises that his name is attached to. And then you think about someone
Yes.
like Harrison Ford. Was it the Star Wars and Indiana Jones?
Yes, yes. I finally started watching those Indiana Jones movies too. Though that was interesting
They're really
to
good. I
see.
really do like them.
Hmm.
So you said also Ender's Game was one that you kind of...
Yes. Yeah. I remember, okay, we were it was like 8th grade, but I do remember us like reading little segments of that movie because it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I'll also mention a little bit. I've seen like 30 minutes of the newest Dune. But when it came towards Ender's
30
Game, I think
minutes.
only 30 minutes because I was just like, where's Zendaya? Where is she?
Oh,
And then
she
popped
doesn't
up.
come out in the first one.
Yeah, and I figured that out and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna turn this off now.
Yeah.
But seeing a bit of a Ender's Game, I think it was a part of an assignment just during that time. I think his last name is Herbert, the one that wrote Dune, and then
Frank Herbert, yeah.
Orson. Yeah, and then I think it's Orson Scott Card. I
Yep.
think.
That's
Yes.
Ender's Game, yeah.
Yeah, that wrote Ender's Game. And it was just for that time. It was kind of cool just to see the progression of time, how my teacher was explaining it. Like people were literally like, okay, this guy's crazy. You can't have a computer on your phone, or like we're not going to get to that progression of time where it's like we're actually using technology to, I guess, work and help everyday lives. And he was creating this futuristic like world that was just, like, I mean, like, because you know how the story Ender's Game goes, like it was just this futuristic world that they could not see in the time that he wrote the book. So I just thought it was interesting because it's just like I'm big when it comes towards just, like I said, generational, just seeing how time has transcended throughout just history. And it was just enough for that movie to be translated into today's world. I think it came out in 2012, 2013.
Mhm.
But it's just to see that like that movie could have been written in today's world and it would have made sense. But like back in I think it was the 60s. I think. I'm not sure.
I'm sure.
But
let's see.
when the book was written, they just couldn't see that as a world that could exist. And I just thought that was interesting. So it was one of those things where I was like, that's cool.
It was written in 85. I thought it was way earlier than that.
I thought it was way earlier than that.
But I do agree with what you're saying, because if you look at some of the main themes about that movie, it's using these machines to fight wars.
Yes.
Drones. That's what we use now. And then using children to fight your wars, which that's what a lot of countries do. And they use children, like 18-year-olds, to fight wars. And you see that and you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. So it's like, that's not far off. I mean, they were like, what, 12, 13 in the book? But it's like, it's not that far off to think that like, 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds at some point are going to like fight, which does happen. And so, like you said, it's something that could have been written today and it still makes sense. And it's just like, well, did he really predict the future, or did he just see that this was the logical progression of like all these things that were going to happen?
Yeah, probably just foreshadowed it. And I mean, it was bound to happen, just how time works.
Yeah.
Just seeing how that world was just in the 80s to now. I guess he just couldn't foresee, like it wasn't foreseen that like, yes, we eventually would have smartphones and we eventually would be, doing these kinds of things. But just creating that fictional story, it was just something that stood out to me. And I really like that movie. I wish that I continued the series, but I really like the movie.
With starring Harrison Ford isn't it too? In Ender's Game.
Oh yeah. Yep. Sure is. So
I will say that Zendaya is not in the movie that whole in the first one, but they are really good movies. She's in the whole thing on the second one. So I will say that you give it another shot. They are like 3 hours long each. So.
I mean, it's fine. I'm a big reader, so it's whatever. It's whatever to me.
So before we get into the movie, that's another thing I was going to ask you about. Like, I know you read a lot, and a lot of times when I go into the break room, you're reading. By the way, we know each other because we're co-hearts.
Yeah, we have co-hearts.
Southwest sponsored this podcast. I'm trying to get out the ghetto.
Please help us.
Please help us here. With my 3 viewers, if one of you guys can call up old Bobby J up at headquarters.
That's a great name.
I'm gonna get like a letter later on. You are Terminator. Anyways,
Oh no.
I can be the official podcast of Southwest Airlines, guys.
You
Let's do
can. You
this.
can. It's a social media team. It works.
Yeah, and we'll
But
do. Yeah, you know what I have wanted to do is whenever I go, I would have to be a long flight, but get on a plane and have somebody with me, and then we do a podcast on the plane, but we'll watch a movie that's available on the Southwest app.
That would be adorable. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that concept.
I mean, I would have to have better equipment to like block out all the noise of the engines, but or maybe that could be like ambient, like just the
Just make sure it's a max 8.
yes, and be like in the front so it's super quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
But going back to the reading, like I said, every time I go into the break room, I usually like bother you. I'm like, hey, stop reading. Like, let's talk.
Of course.
Have you read any like good sci-fi books? Is that kind of what you look towards?
So, I'm only dabbling into it a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with Paolini. He wrote the Aragon series.
I know the Aragon, but don't know the name. I only know it because of the movie.
Yeah. So there's a book that I did, and I ended up giving it away, but I want to get it back again. It is a sci-fi book. It's called To Sleep in the Sea of Stars. And I've also like dabbled in a little bit of Dune. There's like a cool like graphic audio, like very descriptive thing on Audible that I do listen to. And like that's as far as that I've gone. Like I've only gone so far, but when it also I do have a bit. I don't know if Brandon Sanderson is considerably is he more sci-fi or is he more fantasy? But I know at least I've dabbled in a little bit of like just a teeny tiny bit, because like I have the Skyward series that he's written that's like a YA, a bit more teenager, more youthful series that he has, and his Mistborn series that I have kind of dabbled into, but I think that one's more fantasy. But when it comes towards just that sci-fi aspect, I kind of have. There are some like I can say a little bit more authors, but it's like they've only had like maybe a few here and there. But like as far as it goes, like I am familiar when it comes towards that genre of reading it. It's so funny though, because like if you're giving a visual, then like that's easier to build off when it comes towards the world building and the character building, just the story in general. So I think at least I've just here and there, I've had like few books here and there, but I do want to get back to that Paolini book when I get a chance and when I get more shelf space. So
and for me, a lot of the sci-fi that I started reading, the reason I like it is just because nerdy stuff. But when I was in school, most of the things that they had us read were sci-fi books. So
yeah.
1984, that's a big one that like most schools have you read. What was the other one? Which one of my favorite books of all time, A Brave New World.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys they made you read that one in school.
Ironically, they've never made me read any of those because like aren't those considerably like dystopian?
Very much, yeah.
Okay, so
Which is
yeah,
kind
I
of like
did
the sci-fi I like.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I've been like, I've read Hunger Games. I want to do eventually read Maze Runner. Of course, I've read Divergent. There's a new series that I'm starting. That's a little bit more fantasy than it is sci-fi, but like Fourth Wing, but it's still very dystopian and on that level. So yeah, I have read those for sure.
And then recently, I actually finished being because I do audiobooks. I do a lot of audiobooks because I read for like 2 seconds and I'm like, oh my God, when is this going to finish? But
yes, I could.
There's a very famous sci-fi book that I just finished reading. It's called Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut.
I think I've heard of it. Slaughterhouse? Yeah, I've heard of Kurt Vonnegut.
So basically, it's kind of like a sci-fi autobiography, which is kind of funny because, it's very interesting. So he tells parts of his experience in being in World War II and being in a prisoner of war, but with sci-fi elements. So the element is that two things, that he's able to time travel like with his mind. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of the movie The Butterfly Effect, where that's kind of the premise. I've heard of it. It's kind of the premise of that. And then there's also an alien abduction in the movie, which gives him the power to time travel in his mind because that alien society spoiler alerts for this book, that their power, they see time as a circle instead of us as humans, we see it as a line. So all moments happen at the same time at once, and you can observe it, but you can't change it.
Okay.
So the kind of the book leaves it up to interpretation of whether that actually is what happened, that he experienced all these things and all, and he's able to time travel, or if he's just suffering from PTSD. And he's able, like, when he travels back in time, it's actually just him remembering. And then him getting abducted by aliens and stuff like that is him, like, just, having these visions, these hallucinations because of PTSD.
Well, you sold me. I just put it on my my TBR. So I'm like, oh my god, that's.
And then I'm recently starting this book called Metamorphosis, and I just started. It's a short story. It'll literally take you like an hour and a half, 2 hours to read it, and it just started off with this guy who wakes up, and he's all of a sudden he's like a fly, like a huge fly, and he has and he's figuring out like how he's going to tell his family, and like he's getting his day started. He's like, should I call into work and stuff like that. But it's by Frank Kafka.
You okay?
Which is apparently it's a very famous writer, and there's a lot of themes that he has are like what's the word for it? Like government, like red tape and like bureaucracy and stuff like that.
Okay, like political, like fiction.
Yeah, it's political science fiction, but dystopian is kind of like for books. Those are the ones that I do like. So like 1984, I really liked Brave New World, and then like the movies. There's a movie called Soylent Green.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
We did, me and my friend Tony, we did an episode on THX 1138, which is a dystopian world, which was one of George, I think if not but the very first, one of the first George Lucas films that he ever directed, the guy who did Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that great of a movie, but it's a dystopian, society.
Yeah, I got you.
But this movie is not like that. This movie is a parody, a satire of Star Trek.
Okay.
I don't know too much about Star Trek. I'm more of a Star Wars guy. But the stuff that I do know, I'm like, oh, like that's a thing from that show. Again, like through osmosis, like just for it being so popular, you kind of just like absorb some of the stuff in there.
Yeah.
All right. And so, you ready to watch this movie?
Yes.
Let's do this after like talking so much. Like, if you get me started on nerdy stuff, like I will be here for like 3 hours.
It's fine. I love nerdy stuff.
All right, let's go ahead and watch this movie. Hey guys, I'm part of the crew now. Look at me with my cool chain.
Right, like what?
Sam Rockwell, everybody. That is Sam Rockwell.
That is so funny.
Alrighty then. That is such a good movie.
That was hilarious. I loved every single part of it. Yeah, I love that. That was hilarious.
So you kind of saw some of the fandom that goes into Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yes.
Which is pretty insane. I mean, I would say I know more than the average person about Star Wars, but not like to that degree of like those guys.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. So this movie stars, as we saw, Tim Allen. We'll go down to Sigourney Weaver as Gwen, Alan Rickman as Alexander Dane, Tony Shalhoub, Sam Rockwell's in it. Also too, Darrell Mitchell, which you said was Tommy Weber, and then in his film debut, Justin Long. Plays an important part. And then there's also like, but it's funny you were saying, I didn't realize this. It's like people are actors that are acting in a movie that themselves are playing actors.
Yes.
Of a show, but then they actually have then they have to portray another version of themselves to the aliens to make it real. It's like so many layers of like acting and acting.
It is.
So what were the things that you enjoyed about this movie?
I think, like what you just said, it's just quite literally when it came towards like those aliens that did come down to Earth. What is his name, like Mulgar?
Melthasar?
I can't remember.
Melthasar.
Yeah, Melthasar. Yeah, he came down, and it was like they curated this whole entire ship that was just catered towards the show, but with it also being catered towards the show, you had the issues of the punchy, stabby thing, and just the things like the show elements that were going on in the show, but they like curated this whole entire ship and expected everybody to, act upon their roles. And it was like, oh, I did it based off of your hand signals and all that other stuff. That killed me because it was just like it was real for the aliens, but it wasn't real for the actors. But the actors were like, oh, let's not make them think that we're stupid. So let's figure this out. And it was just it was like I mean, even though it was like a parody, it was still very like cool to see them transition into, oh,
Yeah.
this is real. This is real. Like these folks can take us out, or the aliens can take us out. So, we're actually in this thing. And I mean, of course, just the hilarious aspect. Like each actor I've seen to some degree of some of their work.
Hmm.
So like just seeing them like I guess out of their serious elements, because I don't think like Sigourney Weaver or Alan Rickman are like particularly like they're more drama types, so
Yeah,
they
they
don't
are.
do funny things. Yeah, so like seeing them do things like this, but like okay, Tim Allen's known for it. I think even the one that plays Guy, like I've seen him in a couple things, but he's done a couple action movies, but he's still like funny. So it was
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like yeah, it was still very, very cool to see.
Sam Rockwell. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. So, just bringing that element of like the serious actors versus the comedic actors come together in this really, really quirky, really funny movie. It was really nice to see. I really liked it.
You know the funny thing about this movie, it wasn't like the most well received movie, and as far as like making a lot of money, so it didn't make a lot of money. But if you look at
Really?
yeah, if you look at like the IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and all the scores, it has a really high score, and a lot of people
Okay.
really enjoy this movie. So this is like basically a cult classic film. So much so that like they in interviews they've asked the people who were on Star Trek, and they're like, "Oh, this is like one of the better like interpretations of Star Trek," and to some fans, they would consider this like a sequel, like to Star Trek.
Oh, oh, I love that. I love that.
So Will was it Tim Allen is 100% supposed to be like William Shatner, like from Star Trek. It's 100% that,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it was an inspiration, but his name is so Tim Allen's name in the movie as an actor is Jason Nesmith, but his name on the show was Peter Quincy Taggart.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was kind of drew a parallel to Peter Quill from the Guardians of the Galaxy, because that's kind of what,
hmm
and I do like those types of characters. So I would say like that one, Peter Quill, then Indiana Jones, and then I don't know if you've ever seen the Mummy franchise movies
Yes, I love those. I love
with
those
what's his
movies.
name, Brendan Fraser, I forget what his name, and Rick O'Connell, that they're like
hmm
these suave, like manly men, but you kind of see that they like almost fumble through their situations and they just make it out based on like pure
Yeah.
luck. Like they have some
Yeah.
skill,
Exactly.
but it's just like they start developing those skills later on. So what you were saying, and we were talking about this during the movie, that these people were in the movie, they're supposed to be actors, but they
hmm
transition pretty quickly into like the role of like one being a commander, and then like they kind of all gel together for the situation that they need to be in.
Yeah.
So they had the not what was the stereotype? I guess you could say tropes. The tropes in the
Yes.
movie that the one female character is like supposed to be the eye candy of the show, and like she would only her only job was like basically repeating what the computer said.
Yes, it seemed a bit repetitive. So I was just sitting there like, okay, but I mean, of course, she was like I guess the sex symbol, or like, just like the appeal.
I don't know if you noticed, but throughout the movie, and I did mention it, that like it showed like more like revealing, like her clothes was like got
Yes.
more revealing, like as like it's getting ripped off.
uh
But it's funny that she was kind of complaining about like, oh, that she's only supposed to be there like the eye candy or the sex symbol of the show.
Yeah.
But if you notice, like throughout certain scenes, she would like look to see how her hair was and like how like her costume was fading. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you complain about it, but you kind of like play into the part too.
Exactly. Exactly. That's just how the natural progression of the story went.
Hmm. But you know what? Even though it's like a parody, the story was actually really good, and the way that they
Mhm.
set it up made a lot of sense to me.
Oh yeah, no, it did. I agree. And it was just it even like it was kind of telling when that particular alien was trying to let the people know like they're actors, they're faking all of this. It was one of those,
Yeah, it was really
yeah, that was like a kind of like a turning point or a moment that that kind of worked. But then they still like overcame that.
And like that was really hard for a moment when he was trying to explain to Mathosar that like the historical documents that they thought were real are just the
Yes.
show. And then Tim Allen's like doing his best dramatic acting and trying to explain to them, and then it's not really getting it, because I think at some point in the movie, the aliens, the termites, what are they, the Themagarians or whatever,
Mhm.
Thermans, they say like, oh, lying is like a concept that their society doesn't have.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, oh, that makes sense that they think that the show is real, because essentially you're pretending, you're lying.
Yes.
So and by the way, dude, the animatronics of the villains, so good.
They were very like up there, because it's like I'm just kind of looking at the mechanisms and all that versus like the ones that just have the guns. But like yeah, that was pretty good for the movie not to make so much money, but just like for this just to be some kind of one-off movie. Like I really enjoyed that. I like the
The mouth was
practicality.
a little weird, but like the rest of it, the eyes were really good, and then the voice
Yeah.
acting that the main bad guy did was really good.
Yes. But I do enjoy like some kind of like practical aspect when it comes towards any kind of movie that that's trying to, I guess, enhance something that isn't real. I did like that detailing with that.
So those guys are supposed to be based off of the Klingons from Star Trek,
Okay.
which is just basically just this war society, which is funny because they don't look like the Klingons,
Mm-hmm.
but Alan Rickman's character looks like the Klingons,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think in the Star Trek, he's like the one that's like the Klingon. Oh god, what's his name? I honestly don't know. I'm not a big Star Trek guy,
Yeah.
but he's like the one Klingon that's supposed to be like the opposite of what the other ones are, because the other ones are supposed to be like a war society and stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, the Tony Shalhoub, his character is hilarious in this. Like he just immediately is on board with whatever's going on. He's just like, yeah, man, like we're in a spaceship, like let's do this.
I love that. It's always that one kooky character. It's always they're just here for the ride, but like they just fit in the story. Yeah, I love a character like that.
And then like throughout there was a scene where they were like crash landing and he was just eating like popcorn or like chips or something like that.
Yes. Yes. Like, oh, I love like kooky characters like that.
And then he falls in love with the one alien lady
Yeah.
that you were saying. So I wrote her name down here because she kind of has the same role in the movie Dodgeball. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
So in this particular movie, so her name is Missy Pyle.
Mm-hmm.
The character, I forget what her character's name was. There's a guy that falls in love with her the same way in the movie Dodgeball.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, she's supposed to be like this hit. I mean, she's wearing like what they say, like a disguiser, so they look more human, but they're
Mm-hmm.
actually like these weird tentacle monsters,
Yeah.
aliens. But in the movie Dodgeball, she's supposed to be like this former USSR, like a Russian like soldier, and she has like these huge teeth and like a huge eyebrow, like a unibrow and stuff.
Yeah.
And this one character just completely falls in love with her.
Oh, of course.
And I'm like, oh, she played basically the same character in this movie.
That's funny.
So just a real quick, like, so people get the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, these people are from a former TV show called Galaxy Quest, which is based on Star Trek. They're at this convention. These actual aliens come and they ask for them help because they think that their historical documents or the TV show is real, and that's and from there that's where the stuff goes on. But we were talking about the fandom, and I don't know if you there was supposed to be like this heartfelt moment where Tim Allen is talking with the communicator with Justin Long's character Brandon. And then Brandon was like telling him, I know you said like I need to kind of get a life or whatever. I'm not really a loser. And he was about to go into like this whole speech and it was heartfelt, and he cuts him off and he's like, no, dude, it's all real. And he's like, I knew it.
Yeah. I knew it. I knew what it was. I knew it was real. Yeah. Uh-huh.
But the fandom is really funny. We were talking about that earlier, that I understand that some people do take it far. Like it really is. But at the same time, I know that Harrison Ford is one of them that's just like completely over it. Like he just like,
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen interviews when they talk about Star Wars. He's just like, dude, But on the other hand, you have someone like Mark Hamill who played Luke Skywalker. He is all in on it. Like, and he also has two fandoms because he was the voice of the Joker in the animated series, the Batman the animated series, for like the
Yeah.
longest time. And so like for a lot of people, including myself, like when I think of the Joker, I hear his voice.
Yeah.
So my thing is like, I don't know how you feel about that. It's like, well, yeah, like I know people take it too far, and you should never take it too far. But at the same time, these people owe a lot to like the fans, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like a bit of a responsibility on both ends. And I know this kind of sounds crazy, but like I'll explain it. So like when it comes towards like how you said Harrison Ford, he's over the whole, I guess the dramatics and the hystericalness when it comes towards fandoms and all that. But the thing is you have to at least give it like you have to give it some kind of credit. This is what made your career. This is your world. So it's one of those things where you still have to take it with some kind of, I guess, caution or like a grain of salt in regards to each franchise that you do. Because if you're going to do big roles like this, or if it turns out that it's going to be bigger than what it is, then I mean, your household name. That's what makes you. That's what makes you you. But also when it comes towards like actors that are all in, that are all for it, that's the best part, or that's just the best fandomness. Because I mean, we've all dealt with it. We've all dealt with just being like a fan, or like deeply rooted into the lore of something. So I guess like giving each individual that little space and that little time to just dedicate to them. Well, okay, well, this is
Yeah.
what I did. This is how I got into the role. Or like this is what I did, like as far as like inspiration and all that. Like I mean, that's important to like dedicate to that. And then like of course we as fans, we can't just there is just going to be readily available to talk about that specific niche thing that they did way back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like that, because I can look at it on that aspect too, because it's just like, yeah, like I get the simple fact that like not all actors and not all people that are in the entertainment industry want to talk about that one specific thing that they did, or that one specific thing that they said. So I guess we as fans also could, I guess, lighten the load when it comes towards talking about their other projects or just their other aspects. Because I know fandom culture can get a bit too like it gets overwhelming,
It
and it can
does.
get like, yeah, it can get like super duper like parasocial. That's the best word that I can describe it. But I mean, I guess actor versus fan, there always has to be some kind of line. Yeah, because I know with me, like if I'm in like into some like weird niche topic, I have to look up the whole thing. Like when it comes towards movies, when it comes towards like anything, like if I'm looking at a specific movie or a specific actor, I'm looking at
Uh-huh.
everything that they've ever done. I'm like matching timelines, trying to make sure that everything is like, okay, they did this at this age and this time. This is what they were doing. This is where they were living. It's like it's weirdly that like specific to me, just because but it's not something that like if I go into depth with it, oh, I just have this knowledge, or this weird random fact about this specific character or this specific actor in this movie. But yeah, I really think like just that whole balance, that parasocial balance that people do have, that kind of takes a toll on of course, on the actor versus the fan.
No, I agree with that, and you kind of saw it at the in the scenes where they were at the convention, and then
Yes.
like Justin Long comes up to him and he's like, "Well, like in this scene, that like something that's like, bro, like how would he know that he's an actor? Like he's not a
Yeah.
writer. And that's why you have a lot now of like with the extended universe kind of thing. It's like because people have to know every little thing. It's like, well, what's this background's character? Like, where was he born? What was his mom? Who was his? It's like for me, I'm like, if that information is out there, that's cool. But at the same time, I'm not going to be like, I need to know where Yoda was born or what species he is,
Yeah.
And I know people don't really like that so much. And it's like, well, that's an answer that's never going to get, or a question that's never going to get answered.
Yeah, it's very niche.
Being that I was living in California, moved there 2004, I probably could have gone to Comic-Con and it not been as rowdy as it is now. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I wish I would have been able to. Not because it's like, oh, it's commercial now. It's just, it's so crowded that like I don't. And now there's
Yeah.
things that aren't even like comic bookish now. Like they have like the actors from NCIS or from like the show The Rookie. It's like, that's not That's not really like a comic book thing.
Yeah. I think even now it's kind of like this big giant subculture just like shoved into one thing because like I mean Comic-Con was what it was, comics. So when it came towards the I guess the influence of social media and just the media in general, it's like it's lumped everything all into one thing. So like I get why it could be a little bit overwhelming. But I think the aspect like how it was in the movie with just everybody dressed up in their characters and meeting certain characters. I think that part is the cool part, just seeing how people cosplay or just how people are so into the lore of whatever they're into. I think that's pretty cool.
I mean, I wish I would have so been able to go to that Comic Con. I wish I would have been able to go, when, especially like
Yeah.
with my friend. The reason I started getting into comic books and like stuff like this, although my friend in high school, Patrick, shout out to him. This is like the third or fourth shout out I've had with him on the podcast. We were more into comic books. Not he wasn't so much into Star Wars. I think later on he probably got into it. But with him, I probably would have 100% gone to like a Comic Con. I don't know if I would have gotten dressed up, but I for sure would have just gone.
Yeah, just to see it. Yeah.
If you were to go to a Comic Con, would you dress up as anything?
Okay. So it wouldn't necessarily be a Comic-Con, it would be something like regarding games or
Okay.
regarding like anime or anything. So if I think off the top of my head, I would like dress as something from the Kingdom Hearts series. So yes, I would.
I've never played that game before, but it seems like it would be something that I would like, just because it has like all the you can play as like, or you can have all the different Disney characters.
Yes. And that's the basic thing that I would do. I would like be carrying the Keyblade around. That's what I would.
I've written here in all capital letters Sigourney Weaver. Oh my gosh, my
A
goodness.
queen.
Oh man, she
A
was at this
queen.
point. I think she was in her 40s, and I'm like, good lord, Sigourney.
I aspire
You
because
know
if
what I mean?
that's what she is in her 40s and like yeah.
Do you think this is a movie that you would like show your friends or your family? Do you think they would like it, or it would just be like, eh?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're big
Would the warden
mixture.
like it?
Oh yes, she would. She because she loves Alan Rickman. She loves it. She loves
Ah,
it.
okay,
So
okay.
it's yeah, that would be perfect. So the warden would love it.
His performance was pretty funny. Like he was supposed to be the serious one, but his seriousness made it funny.
Yes, like it's his stoicness. Like it's just how he portrayed himself, and he's like it's kind of awkward. Like when he would run and all that, it's his little weird comportment. It was adorable. Yeah.
And he was one too that like, and you saw that they all gel together. So that scene where they get captured and they're about to be put in the airlock,
Yes.
Tim Allen's character doesn't explain to him what he's trying to do, but he starts like telling him like you're a hack actor and stuff like that. And then Alan Rickman, like his character, catches on like quick, like to what they're
Yeah.
doing. And it goes to show that like they were on this show for such a long time that even though they kind of hated each other, they still kind of like got each other's vibes, you know? And he also did that too
Yes.
at the end with Tommy. He was like, go through the
Yeah.
minefield, get closer to the mines. And he's like, why? And then Tommy's like, oh, like,
Oh
and then they
yeah.
they transition. And then Tim Allen, like, he turned into like a good strategist, a good leader. And everybody was
Yeah,
just like on board
yeah.
with him.
I love the like them just kind of adapting to like their actual characters and it actually working out in their favor. Yeah,
And this movie
I
is
like that
so funny.
aspect.
There's so many like little jokes and stuff that are in the movie. I did like the scene with the rock monster. That was pretty funny.
Yes. They were just like little aspects. It's like it's kind of like if they were like they were quick. So like if you caught it, then yeah, then like there it was.
And still to this day, but the portrayal of the aliens, the Thermians, it's still, I find it uneasy. Like their haircuts, and it still kind of weirds me out.
Yeah.
Like to this day, every time I see it,
Uh-huh.
and then they're like the way that they talk, and it's like like it still weirds me out. Just every time I like they're on the screen, I'm just like, ugh. But I think that's what it's supposed to be because they're actually like squid monsters, and I think that's what they
Yes.
think humans like move and like act and stuff. They look like they were part of a cult.
Yeah, the weird like puppeteer like walking like that was hilarious. I love that. Love that aspect.
You said this in the beginning that this cast is star-studded. Not only the main cast, right? With
Yeah.
but they're also, so Justin Long is not a cameo. He's actually like in the movie, but
Yeah.
also I think as a kid, one of the Disney kids, Corbin Blue, is in the
Yes.
movie. He's little Tommy.
Yeah, I didn't realize that because I was just looking at the just looking at the beginning of the movie, and I looked at it. I saw it on Google, of course, because I mean I was just like
Yeah,
doing the
yeah.
researching and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, that's my childhood crush. Like, oh my gosh, that's my guy.
What show was he on?
High School Musical.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah, that was my guy. Oh my gosh.
Rainn Wilson from The Office, a show I've never watched, is was one
Yes.
of the aliens in the background.
I don't know his name, but he at least played he was in Phil of the Future, and he
Uh-huh.
also played Cusco, the Emperor's New School. He played in both shows, but he was such a funny dude. Like he had like a small little part in it, and it was in the beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, like oh,
Yeah.
I love when the movies are like just packed full of like actors that like everybody knows.
That's happened a lot. That's happened a lot. That, doing the podcast that I watch movies, and I'm like, oh, that's like a famous actor now. But this is like their first role, or they had like an extra role.
Yes.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about the movie? Anything else you enjoyed about it?
Just okay. When it comes towards movies, I'm not saying that this movie is like particularly cheesy or bad, but it's one of those things where I do like the aspect of movies that just don't take themselves
Hmm.
seriously. Because people need to realize, especially when you're like deeply into just like cinema or just like just theater or just anything like this in
Yeah.
general, not everything has to be so serious or not everything has to be so like complex. Like it doesn't have to have some kind of like thought provoking, mind blowing thing that goes on. Because it's like I take classics as classics. Those are good. The ones that
Hmm.
everybody talks about. 9 times out of 10, I haven't seen it, but that's besides the point. But I like the unserious movies. I like the ones that are just not like they don't really have to have some big old turn or some big old plot twist because it's just that's what makes like cinema or just entertainment fun. So yeah, I can appreciate
This movie didn't take
these
itself
like
seriously at all, and it was better for
yeah,
it.
yeah. And I don't even think that they can do that now, especially with the culture that we do have about like just cancel culture and all that other stuff. They can't do it like how they did it back in the day. And I mean, like pushing the boundaries and all that stuff, you have to be careful with what you say or what you do. And I mean, like let's call a spade. Like things that were said and that were done back in the day weren't the greatest, but it can't be done now. And so that's the only thing that I do like or I can appreciate about parody movies or that I can appreciate about movies from the past that are typically funny
Hmm.
or have a particular direction that they're trying to go.
There was one word that they did say in this movie that I'm like, oh, you can't say that anymore.
Yeah,
Where they were at the
yeah,
restroom,
yeah.
yeah, where they were in the restroom, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, just hearing the word now, I'm like, oh, but I mean, it was the time. So, but at the same time, like
Yes.
movies like that, to what you were saying, Star Wars and Star Trek, I think had to recon or change certain things because of like words that they would say back in the day, and I'm
Yes.
like, just leave it. I mean, we understand we're not 12, that this was a different time. Not saying it was
Yeah.
correct, but it was a
Yes.
different time. So it's like just appreciate it for what it was then, and I'm sure people can compartmentalize and know like, oh yeah, that's not right now. That's not a thing that we do now, but back then they did. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think that's the beauty about the like just the transcending time. That's just it's just what it is. Like you say like Star Wars for example, that was didn't it start in the
77.
16s? 70? Okay, 77. So just that that progression and just with just that culture that has that's just shaped how cinema or how things are taken seriously. There's certain things that like you can just kind of dabble in. It's not one of those things you just got to go hardcore.
Yeah.
This is what we were talking about, and I'm not going to change it. Da, da, da. But like, definitely, like I do hear what you're saying though. But like, you could appreciate things for what they are.
Yeah, you still
Yeah.
can appreciate it. And I find, and I think people are kind of coming around now to this specific thing, that a lot of sci-fi, not only literature but movies and even comic books, they do tell really amazing stories. People like would just think like, oh, that's for kids, and that's like, no, not really. Like if you look at, well, like we were saying in the beginning, Star Trek, it was very progressive for its time,
Mm-hmm.
having a black character, an Asian character on TV, and having the black character kiss a white man on on screen. Like in the
Yeah.
60s, they probably blew people's minds. Like,
They were.
and then, you know, like, and then the X-Men, which was basically an allegory for the civil rights in the 60s, Magneto being Malcolm X and then Professor X being MLK. If you look at it,
I had
you
no
had
idea.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. That's why they created it.
Wow.
So
okay.
they do tell poignant stories, and not only it doesn't always have to be like have a point or social, but or a social aspect to it, but at the same time, like they tell amazing stories in these sci-fi movies and then like comic books, to the point where some of the best movies, like Star Wars, is considered to a lot of people some of the best movies of all time, and they're sci-fi. You know, it's not like so. I think they're giving them now like more credit to sci-fi, which I'm very happy for.
Yeah.
You know, Avatar is another like one of the biggest, highest grossing movies of all time. I don't know if you like the Avatar movies.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yes. Yeah, I liked both of them.
There's two. Oh, yeah, there is two. I forgot about the other one.
See, I mean, and there's like a third one that's gonna come out eventually.
The Fire Nation,
maybe.
or the Fire People, the Fire and Water, something. Fire, Ice, and Water.
I mean, it took them long enough to come out with the second one. They better come out with another one.
That guy, James Cameron, the director, he has hits, man. That's all he does.
Yeah.
So he made Alien, the first one. No, the second one. He made the second one.
Oh wow.
So the first one is Alien. The second one is Aliens.
Okay.
Because there's more. Then he made the Terminator, the first Terminator movies, the first two, and then Avatar.
Yeah, I think I've seen the second Terminator movie.
That one is such a good movie too. The second Terminator. I highly recommend that one. And then another movie that he made, which is a comedy starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, is called True Lies.
Okay.
Which I've been wanting to show Dana, because there's a character in the movie. Her name is Dana. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter in the movie. And there's a scene where he just like literally screams her name. He's like, "Dana, get out of here, Dana." Like, that's the only reason I want to show her that movie.
I think she would love that.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this.
Awesome. Really I'm really glad you enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
I think we've talked to death about it. Not only that, but other stuff.
Yes.
Going on in this movie. And if you want to do another one, I'll pick one that I think will touch on more of those topics.
I do want to do another
one. Which I know I'm not like the most qualified person, but any movie that has to do with the civil rights movement, or any movie that has to do with mental illness, like I can't. Like you will watch it together and I will be crying. Like,
I get it. Yeah.
Or if it's like civil rights, I will be mad for the rest of the day.
I got you. Yeah, I understand.
Like, come on, man.
Completely.
Like, what was the one movie recently that I saw and I was just like, I can't remember. Oh, it wasn't even a movie about civil rights.
Yeah.
It was the movie Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
And there's a scene there where these boosters are talking about the players, and they're like, "Oh yeah," like they're talking about them casually, and they just throw out like racial slurs, and I'm like,
yeah,
I know why the movie put it in there, because like legit, that's how they talked in the 80s, like about people in Texas. But I was just like, what?
Yeah, like, where did this come from? It's so left field.
So they were talking to the coach, and you could tell that even he was like, in the movie they made it depict like they put that for a reason, that even the coach was just like, why? Alrighty then, thank you so much, Co-Heart.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't know if you saw that. I changed.
Yeah, I saw it.
I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I sure did. I was like, oh, okay.
All right, I'm in the Frey house this whole month, so I probably won't see you. But thank you so much. Tell your mom, tell Miss Warden I said hi.
Okay.
And we'll do it. Thank you so much.